Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 78 of the Not Joanna Eggs podcast. This week we are reviewing Big Fish and Begonia, the 2016 Chinese animated film. It's absolutely gorgeous, a lot of fun to watch, and we hope you guys enjoy this review. And thanks again for listening. Bye.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Not Joanna Eggs. I'm Robbie.
And I'm Tracy.
And this week we have a stunning movie, to be honest with you. It is called, it's got a few
quite
different
beautiful.
names, but yeah, it's fantastic. One of the most beautiful ones we've watched in a while, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So it's called, the American name is Big Fish and Begonia. The other name it goes by is The Red Dolphin.
Mm-hmm. And also, if you translate it literally from Mandarin, apparently it's the big fish and the Chinese flowering crabapple, which, honestly,
Yes.
Fair point for them changing it to Begonia, because Begonia sounds a lot more fun.
It's also a little easier, it rolls
Yeah.
a little bit better.
2 for the big fish and the Chinese flowering crabapple, please.
Yes.
Yes, there it is. Enjoy the show, folks. Number 1, this is the first Chinese movie that I'm pretty sure that we've done, because Doggy Poo was South Korean, and we've done a fair amount of anime films, but this is just kind of new to me, is that apparently China really does not have the biggest animated film industry right now. Like, they've helped to produce and animate on some other films, like some Western films, but in general, they don't really have the kind of industry that Japan or South Korea or Russia has. So it's interesting to just kind of see that within the past 10 years, I think we both looked this up beforehand, that this is one of the bigger tentpole movies that the Chinese animation industry has come up with.
Some who even argue that it's like the real start to sort of Chinese animation, even though it only is like 3 years old, which is nutty.
Yeah, it's barely 3 years old. Like, this came out the summer of 2016 in China, which is, it's crazy. Like, the fact that and I guess that this had over 12 years of development, I believe.
Yeah, well, not quite. It was like 9, because
That's still a lot.
Well, no, I guess, 12, shit.
Yeah.
Well, because they started with like a short in 2004. Holy crap.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, I bet
like
it was
Flash animation.
Yeah, it was probably more like a concept kind of thing, or like just them
Yeah.
trying to establish both like the aesthetic and the setting and everything.
Yeah, so that's when they kind of like started, and it was so well received that they tried to turn it into a feature-length film, and they didn't really get funding for like a long time.
But they were trying to develop it just kind of before the recession, and I have no idea how much that would have hit China, but I'm sure it probably didn't help, because I remember the housing crisis being pretty bad there, but that's just kind of like, them making these gigantic apartment buildings for cities that don't even exist, like no one lives there, but it's just to keep construction jobs going. But yeah, it seems like they just kind of had to be the investors, they kept keeping them interested. And I don't know. I guess it seems like they just kind of shelved it for a little while.
So they got some money in 2007, during which time they worked on the script until 2009, at about which point they ran out of money. And then in 2013, they started asking for help again.
Like, it seems vaguely of like a Kickstarter sort of thing.
Yeah. And then Inlight Media invested in the project.
Okay.
Great amount of interest and later success of another top-grossing Chinese animated feature were the factors that prompted Inlight Media to invest in the project. Yeah. So I guess they just kind of like, more or less did like a grassroots almost sort of thing to like drum up publicity for the short and building into the movie.
Oh my god, it's like the Chinese Thief and the Cobbler almost.
Almost,
except
it
on a much smaller scale, like in terms of the time, but in terms of the passion and trying to make sure that they got it done. Yeah, it's definitely there.
Sure.
It's a pretty stellar film. Like, there are some things I wasn't 100% crazy about, but overall I thought it was very enjoyable.
Yeah, I think as a whole movie, it's, like, fantastic, but I think I agree with you that, like, the one thing that really bothered me about this movie is, especially in, like, the first, half hour maybe?
Yeah.
There's just these sort of, like, huge lore dumps.
Yeah, and I want to note that I watched this in the original Chinese with English subtitles.
Gosh, how was that?
No, it was good because the voice actors were great, but the problem is that I couldn't look away.
Yeah.
Because number one, like, here's the thing. We should also note that one of the animation companies that worked on this is Studio Mir. Yes, because I know that you, Robbie, specifically, are a huge fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender and Legend of Korra. I'm not sure if you watched Voltron. They have a very distinctive way of drawing the heads of characters. Here's the thing. I have never seen any of Avatar, and I know that's probably a cardinal sin, but it's never come up.
Oh, well,
like I just haven't set the time aside. It's a lot. It's a big time commitment right now, and I can't do it.
I think we're going to have to do something over the summer then.
Well, I guess we're going to have to binge all of Avatar when you're back here during the summer. But
I've got it all on DVD.
If that's a threat, then I guess, I'll take it, but...
It probably is.
It is overtly a threat.
It is unambiguously a threat.
There are a lot of just kind of aesthetic similarities to this with Avatar, but it's kind of inevitable because of the animation studio.
Yeah, well, so there's certain scenes where you see it, but yeah. So Studio Mir is a South Korean animation studio, and from what I'm seeing, it doesn't look like they actually worked on the original Avatar: The Last Airbender, but they definitely did a lot of the animation.
Oh, they did a ton of Korra, and they've done I think all of Voltron. I'm pretty of the Voltron reboot that's on Netflix.
Yep, and they also did a bunch of they did the 4th season of Boondocks, which is kind of interesting. So if that's a thing you dig,
I adore the Boondocks. So yes,
I mean, yeah, they're great.
It's on brand for me, but
so there's definitely some scenes definitely. So there's a scene where the main character, Chun, is dancing with her spirit-linked fish, Kun.
Yeah.
In the rain when they, early on in their relationship, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And
we'll describe the entire plot, but let's discuss the similarity. It's fine.
That scene in particular, for me, is, a good sort of, example of Studio Mir's work. Just because the movements are so well animated and so sort of fluid but also precise, that it feels almost it feels reminiscent of Korra in the sense that it feels like it has the same kind of movement, fluidity, and energy of them animating martial arts.
Yeah, and it's not to the point that it feels rotoscope too, which I think is good to note, because sometimes you can get kind of an uncanny valley sort of feeling from that. As much as I love some of Ralph Bakshi's movies, sometimes when it's very, obviously super rotoscoped, it can kind of throw you out, because then you just become aware that you're watching something that someone else has traced over.
Yeah.
They incorporate being able to get fluid movements through almost like martial arts or dancing or whatever you want to call it, where it's still obviously animated, but it never throws you out of being in the world that you're in.
Yeah. So let's talk a bit about this plot. It's kind of weirdly dense.
Yeah, there's a lot of lore. Within the first 2.5 minutes, they tell you exactly what's going on in their world.
Yeah, that whole lore dump at the beginning just sort of I don't know, it just sort of flew over me.
Yeah, I was like, what? I had to rewatch part of it.
I only really got part of it. So basically they're in this world that exists beneath the human world, but also very obviously connected to it.
Not in a Middle Earth kind of way. They're not, because they're not deities. They kind of just have magical powers and stuff, I guess. Or things that would probably be normal to them. Some of them can create plants and help things grow and everything.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Kind of like Fern Gully. It's a little like Fern Gully, let's be honest.
Yeah. It's the I think because her power is related to plants, she kind of has that vibe. But then it's got the aesthetics of Spirited Away.
Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah, there's a lot of imagination that's put into this. Some very fun character design too. I
was dying in the first 10-15 minutes before she goes to the human world, just because of all the cool things they had, the weird guy with the black skin and the fiery hair, literally fire colored and shaped hair.
Yeah, almost like he has actual flames on his head.
Yeah, all that kind of shit was so cool. So I'm gonna try and trim this plot as much as I can.
Do you want me to sum it up? Because I feel like I don't do that a ton.
Yeah, if you want to try.
Honestly, I promise that this one specifically I can keep concise.
All right, hit it.
Okay, so Very simplified version of this is that a girl named Chun is going to a rite of passage ceremony wherein she turns into a dolphin for, I believe it's for, I think like a week, something like that.
7 days.
Yeah, 7 days. She gets to go experience the human world, but she can't directly interact with them because it can have grave consequences within their world. And that ends up happening. She meets a boy named Kun, who he's like this implausibly attractive like boy that just lives in a cottage with his sister by the sea. But while she's a dolphin, as she's trying to return back to the whirlpool, back to her world, I think they call it a maelstrom, but I'm not 100% sure of that phrase, so whatever. She gets caught in a net. And then, so she gets caught in a net and he goes out to save her. He does so, but he ends up getting killed. So she brings this ocarina back with her that's shaped like a dolphin back to her world because she feels so guilty that she wants to try to save him and figure out a way to barter for his life back. She goes to this shaman that lives in this very remote part of their world. He makes a deal with her, stating that if she gives up half of her life, as she's like a magical deity, it'll limit the time that she spends on within their universe. So she makes that sacrifice and is able to bring Kun back to life, but he starts off as a dolphin, so she basically has to raise him and start to help him remember who she is, and they form a bond together. During this time, her friend, I think his name is Chu. It's spelled Qiu. I had to look up a YouTube translation because I'm just like, I'm really sorry, guys. I'm trying.
Oh, it was so rough for me because I was watching it and I was like, all right, Qiu. I don't know how I pronounce it. And they say like chew throughout, and I was like, ugh.
Well, because it's like a lot of them were talking really quickly, so it was like even if they were saying his name, I was having trouble placing it.
Sure.
The weird thing about this movie is that like I don't know if this is just my weeb brain talking, but like I'm so used to watching anime because I recognize a lot of Japanese, but I have no exposure to Chinese, so I was like, wait, what are they saying? Like, what are they doing? Because Chinese is such a complicated language, just like Japanese is, but you don't have that familiarity of like listening for certain things like nani or like.
Well, and there's also in China they have different languages, right? So there's like Mandarin and there's
Mandarin, there's Cantonese. I think that they've got I think they or there's Taiwanese, but you know Taiwan's offshore of China, but you know
right.
There's so many dialects too, so it's like...
well, just because it's, I mean, China's effing huge, so...
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that was like, that was the one thing that was really taking me out of it, because I was watching this with Kent, and he's like, I know that this is basically an anime, but they're talking Chinese, and I don't understand what's happening. And the anime has made us lazy, so...
Of course.
Going forward from that, her friend Chu, I guess he kind of just has like a big crush on her or whatever.
Oh,
so
yeah.
he's trying to, oh god, yeah, he's got it hard. And it's really sad watching it because I'm like, oh no, this is not going to end well for you, buddy. Because he seems extremely earnest. He kind of looks like Inuyasha, but not a dog. Chu, God bless his heart, he has a huge crush on her, and he's trying to like help find a way to like, you know, both bring them closer together, and like he's helping to protect Kun and hide him from the rest of the village, because I guess the dolphin brings a curse or something, because he's technically a human in their society.
Yeah, so it's a human soul in their world, and so that like sort of fundamentally alters the order.
Yeah, everything goes into flux. The weather starts changing, like animals start evacuating out of their area, all of it. Like it's it's sad. Like it's a real bummer because like things start flooding, like people start going missing, all of it.
God,
it's crazy.
Yeah, the flooding is
Oh god, the flooding is like, I was like, this is like watching Des Moines last year. Like it's awful.
Definitely like so sort of late in the movie. It's so hard. The pacing is a little odd in this movie because there's just a lot, but when the flooding is happening, especially like at its worst, you feel the immensity of it. Like, oh my god, this whole world is just going to go like under.
Their village and the way that they have their town set up, it's in a valley, so the flood water ends up engulfing these mountains. Like it's essentially like drenching everything. Like it may as well just be a mass flood, you know, like Noah's Ark.
Yeah, basically. Well, and for them, it's experienced as like literally the skies opening up and pouring water down.
It's kind of like the end of Sonic Adventure if you've ever played that. Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird flex, but okay. I've been playing the old games recently, so I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot that happened.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Most of the story itself just kind of becomes Chun bonding with Kun. Even though like they really can't be verbal and everything, like everything about this is just kind of like Chun trying to hide him away and like not get in trouble and everything, but eventually the villagers find out what's going on and she's trying to help him escape and they can't quite do it. Even when they're trying to make deals with other people, like this amazing, terrifying rat woman who's great.
Oh God, I loved her
God,
so
she's
much.
great. Like she
was amazing.
I loved especially that like there are these rats and mice. They're basically just her cronies, but they embody this like weird. It looks almost like a really shitty Totoro suit, like a really
it's like
awful
a big...
Totoro cosplay.
It's like a giant stuffed rat, except it's stuffed with more rats.
Yeah, it was vaguely like Akira-esque when they all start just kind of like streaming out and like the body starts deflating and you're like, oh my God, like there's just so many of them.
Yeah, well, so that's kind of like a lore thing that's super interesting, but
it gets kind of complicated because like the rat woman also has a crush on Chew.
Yeah, she keeps like hitting on him.
And she's trying to get him to dance with her or whatever. Eventually she ends up betraying the kids because she says that she'll help them with getting Kun out of there by like saying like, oh, take him to this area by this lake, he'll be safe over there. Chew ends up getting bit by a double-headed snake, which is terrifying but really cool at the same time.
Yeah.
He ends up becoming sick. She takes him over to her grandfather's house, who's got this amazing beehive. It's fantastic.
The beehive hair.
Oh yeah, it's great. But he ends up sacrificing himself in order to save Chew. She doesn't quite find out until like the end of it.
So Chun's grandfather then becomes like a begonia tree, like a huge one.
Yeah, God, the scale in this movie is so cool.
Oh, it's
you really
it's
do
amazing.
feel like the size of all the sets or not the sets,
Yeah.
the locations and the valleys
Yeah.
and everything that they occupy.
I think it's around that point where things start to like really spiral. At that point, Chew goes to the Soul Keeper, who Chun made a deal with, and exchanges his whole life for what's left of Chun's, like the other half of her life.
He mentions that the other half of Chun's life is tied to Kun, the dolphin, meaning that if he dies, she dies.
Yes.
And he's like, I won't be having that.
Yeah, well, so this is where it becomes like weirdly complicated, right? Is like Chun's life is connected to Kun's, but if Kun leaves their world, Chun still dies and then he dies or something. That wasn't super clear to me watching it.
I got that he was trying to do the whole self-sacrificing thing, but I didn't quite get what the actual stakes were in terms of it. I mean, I knew that he was going to die, like, if he did it.
Yeah.
But I didn't understand, like, what the conditions of the rest of the thing were.
Yeah, well, and they kind of, like, you know, they do the whole thing where, like, the character whispers in Chu's ear, and so then we don't know what he has to do.
Yeah, he ends up giving him instructions for what happens later in the movie, but it's not immediately apparent to us as viewers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, basically, like, all of the people in Chun's world get together and decide they have to kill the red dolphin, Kun. And as this is happening, the world starts, like, flooding. Chu tries to open the gateway to let Kun return to his world. And that's when the sky starts breaking.
Yep. And also that two-timing rat woman steals the ocarina back so then she can... she becomes hot, by the way. She makes a deal with, I think it's Chu's father or something. It was another one of the villagers, like another bigwig that happened to work with them.
Yeah, one of the bigwigs.
Like, so she ends up ratting them out, basically. Ratting them out. It lifts her curse and then she can go back out into the sunlight and she becomes like super hot immediately. Like she's wearing like a tank, or not even a tank top. She's wearing a
Like
tube
a tube
top.
Yeah.
It's gross, but she's also cute. So you're just like,
I don't know how to feel about this.
It's like it's like basically Donald Glover's "I've got the weirdest boner right now" thing.
So then, as the world is flooding and they're trying to kill Kun and also, like, save their people, Chun sacrifices herself on her grandfather's begonia tree.
Yeah.
And the tree grows so large as to, like, plug up the holes in the world.
Yeah, where I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily going to stop all of it because there's clearly still water coming through it. But I was also very impressed at, like, man, she's got a lot more magic than she was letting on.
She's got a lot of power in
Yeah,
there.
I was like, so that was the size that what her grandpa's tree was, but, like, even though he was the one that saved Chu, but I'm like, you mean to tell me that she could have made a tree this frigging huge that is so big it can plug up the heavens and, like, all the island areas surrounding them? It's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty nutty, but it was cool.
Yeah.
So then Kun breaks a branch off the tree and ends up bringing it to the Soul Keeper, who uses that to bring Chun back to life.
Yep. She's Nakers, and she's covered in flower petals.
Yes.
I'm just like, nice, China.
And then they give her a robe, or some kind of clothes.
Yeah, he's like, cover up your shame, woman.
Cover your shame. So he sends Kun and Chun and Chu on...
Their names are so similar. Oh my god.
I know, it's a little rough. He sends them to what to me, seems like it's supposed to be sort of the edge of the world for Kun and Chun to go back.
And also have some really sick Free Willy references, kind of.
Yeah, kind of.
I mean, there's a couple of shots that you can tell, like, I was like, okay, this is obviously for the back of the DVD. I get it.
Yes.
Like, they're going to be using his stomach to either put some kind of quote from a critic or, like, some leaves or awards or something on there. And I'm like, okay, we get it.
That's the promo shot right
yeah,
there.
I get it. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what there are some pretty obvious promo shots earlier in this, but it's like, whatever. We'll let it go. It's magical. It's fine.
Yeah. They go on this journey, and in the process of Kun leaving, Chu sacrifices himself so that Chun can go to the human world, because when she sacrificed herself, she gave up her magical power, and so she's not allowed to live on her own world anymore. And so she goes to the human world with Kun at the expense of Chu, who basically like burns away but turns her into a red dolphin so she can go back to the human world.
Yeah, and it's like, it should be noted that she had no idea that this was the thing that was going on.
He kind of springs this on her at the last second.
I mean, there is a very painful scene that happens about 10 minutes earlier where he basically just kind of admits to her that he regrets not trying to be more forward with her. And she does the "you've always been like a brother to me" thing. And I was like, oh no.
Yeah,
she has no idea. It was like, it's not a fun thing to hear.
No, that one like hurt my soul.
When she said it, I was like, here's the thing. I really don't like the term friend zone, because friend zone implies, that like someone is owed sex because of such and such behavior or something.
Right. Well, it also like implies that there's like something somehow like lesser about having a friend.
Yeah, as opposed to just being in a relationship with them. But it's the frustrating part about it is that like it's kind of this misunderstanding thing where it probably would have been a good opportunity for him to mention the whole deal thing that he did with the Soul Keeper, but then you wouldn't have had the emotional payoff later, because like when she finds out, she immediately is like, no, you can't do that. Like, that's not okay. But like he's like, it's already done. I already ate the thing. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna die one way or another. So go hang out with your dolphin boyfriend. See what I care.
And so then we see them. The movie technically ends with Kun and Chun on what the Wikipedia claims is a shore. It really just looks like they're in the middle of the fucking like.
They may as well be on a sandbar. Like there's no
much
indication this was actually by shore, but they're both naked and they both wake up and they're just like, she has like this weird baby head doll necklace thing that she got from Chew earlier. I think at first I thought it was an egg. I thought he just gave her an egg, and I'm like, that's kind of weird, but okay.
May I offer you an egg in this trying time?
That's exactly what I said when I saw it. The instant I saw it, I was just like, oh, an egg, cool, thanks. And like she just cracks it open. She's like, I love lean protein. Oh god.
I do enjoy the protein.
I could have sworn it was an egg, but then it became a weird baby head. I'm like, all right, fine.
It's like a weird mask of some kind.
Yeah.
Then the movie ends, but then there's a mid-credits scene, like a stinger, in which the Soul Keeper returns Chu to life to take over for him.
Yep. So then he gets to have cat furniture and play mahjong and be able to help out other people.
Can we talk about the cats?
Oh, I would love to talk about the cats.
Oh, those cats were so good.
Yeah, like we've established pretty much all the plot now, so let's get into the details.
Like the broadest strokes version of this plot that we can probably give you.
Yes.
Because again, it's like pretty intense.
Yeah, I mean, it's extremely lore heavy. It's not like a complete downer. There are some sections of levity within this, but much of it is just like, because granted, I didn't listen to an English dub or whatever. I just watched the Chinese and saw the captions and anything. But like, I bet even the English dub was kind of hard to follow because of how much story there is that's going on.
Yeah, there's just like one of my notes at one point is just like, this movie's just like doing a lot of things. And it is like, and I get,
well, it's like they want to do like a story that has like heavy emotional tones to it and that has stakes that are involved. Like it's like I was invested in the whole story. Like I didn't find it boring, but it like there were certain sections that definitely lagged a little bit, or I was like, yeah, they probably could have trimmed this a little bit or like removed that scene. But overall, it didn't overstay its welcome.
No, I don't think so. I think because it's like it's an epic, right? So the scale of everything just has to be sort of huge. But also it's inspired by like 3 different source texts. It's inspired by the Taoist Zhuangzi. It also integrates stories from the classics of Mountain and Sea and In Search of the Supernatural. So like it's got like a lot of things sort of packed into it, which is both, I think it's probably part of the sort of aesthetic that they were going for, but I wonder if it's also like the guy who wrote and directed Sorry to Bother You, I think. What he said was he, like, packed a lot of things into that movie because he wanted to make sure that he got all the ideas out, because what if I don't get to do this again?
I mean, like, I think that's a good approach to have to it. It's like that doesn't mean to like put everything in the kitchen sink in there, but there's obviously a lot of different ideas and story things that they wanted to combine in here. But none of it feels inorganic. Like it all meshes together.
Yeah, it all fits pretty well. And there's just, again, this movie is like so beautiful. Like,
oh yeah,
when we get to basically the point at which we meet Chun, we see a woman weaving a rainbow into a sky pattern,
which goes into like a lake that makes like a galaxy, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, I was like, all right, starting off good. We're in it.
Next to like her mostly regular horses and then a Pegasus, but no unicorn, oddly enough. Which I was kind of surprised to see. There was not. That was just the ear. Like if you're thinking about the green one, that was just the green one's ear.
They were also, however, enormous. Like they looked like normal horses except double size. And then she had some kind of like weird, goofy little critter that I don't remember, like when she was weaving.
The character design in this, like especially in terms of the creatures, is extremely imaginative, which I really like.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, there's also like these weird little butt monster things that were running around. I don't know if you saw those. They just kind of looked like they were butts that had like 6 legs and wings. I was like, I don't know if you remember them. I'll send you a screenshot later, but
there's so many things.
There were so many things, but like, yeah, like I would say out of a lot of things that Studio Mir can do, they can sometimes do like similar facial expressions, but like whatever, I get it. Like they've got like there's a certain precedent that's going on, and I'm sure that like it still aesthetically fit with what they were trying to do. But goddamn, like every single time I've ever seen a creature, like this is the same guys that I don't know if they did Appa or Momo, but I know that they did Naga, Korra's polar dog thing, and I'm like,
polar bear dog.
It's like they can put so much appeal into these characters. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, like, I thought that all the characters were well fleshed out. Like, some of them, like, it was kind of tough to keep track of their names because I was listening to the Chinese version.
Yeah.
Like, I still knew who they were. Like, I understood what their motivations were. Like, I saw that her parents were kind of overprotective, but they were obviously still worried about her. But it's like, hey, her worries are founded because Chun has been harboring a dolphin that's actually a human away from them and is basically destroying everything surrounding them. So it's like, yeah, no, she's got good reason to just be like, you need to, like, get that thing out of here. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that was okay for her to throw him out and like throw him into the garbage or like throw him into like the sewers, where Chu even goes down to get him. Like, God bless his heart. That kid is so nice, and I really feel bad for him because I think that, I don't know, it's anyway, yeah. I was like, I was seeing a little bit of myself in him at that point. I was just like, oh man, this is like much younger Tracy, and I'm like, no, there's a reason I stopped doing that.
Really?
To an extent, not nearly to the scale that I used to, but that's a story I've never shared with you. So
fair enough.
There's a couple things that are gonna stay buried back there because I killed them good. So
killed them dead, killed them good, buried
killed them
12
good.
feet under.
Extra 6 feet to make sure they don't get anywhere.
Moon's haunted.
But yeah, I mean, is there anything else you really wanted to share with this, or?
Well, so I ended up really loving the Soul Taker, who I just remembered is named Ling Po.
Oh.
And also I'm super fucking confused by, because I'm pretty sure throughout the dub they refer to Ling Po as a woman.
Wait, really? The Soul Keeper?
Yeah.
I mean, he seemed, in the Chinese version, he's very unambiguously male.
Yeah. Same in the English dub. So I don't know. Maybe I misunderstood that. Maybe that's like...
Was this during like the first scene? Know. Like maybe he was just using pronouns for Chun, or?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that. And I also loved so at one point, we sort of glossed over this moment, but I do love it just because it's kind of, for me, fun. When they hide the dolphin in this sort of like frozen river, Chun goes back to save him. And when she does, she, I think, faints, but then gets rescued by a large number of rat friends.
Yeah, they all just like start surrounding her and use their superhuman strength in times of crisis to take her to shore.
I also loved those rats in specific because they were all with white bodies but little red painted faces.
They were so cute.
They were great.
They were so cute.
Them.
They looked like they had little no masks on or something. Like, it was great. I loved it. And they also started doing backflips and shit, and I thought that was really cute.
That was the lore thing that I thought was interesting was, so the Soul Keeper Ling Po takes the souls of, like, virtuous humans and turns them into, like, fish, and the rat woman takes the bad souls and turns them into rats. What I would like to know that they don't talk about is what happens to people who are, like, just okay.
Yeah, like, all the people that were like, like, maybe they donated at church every now and then, but they speed constantly, and they're always texting and driving, like... It's not great. Like, the people who cut in line at the airport, but they'll give a sandwich to someone every now and then. Like,
yeah, that.
I know, like, all the morally ambiguous people.
That's the thing. What happens to those guys? They get, like, this awful fish-rat hybrid.
Maybe they could turn into those stick bugs that Lin Po was eating earlier.
There you go. Oh, that
well, actually, no, using his ciggarates.
Yeah,
that's what it was.
He uses them as a cigarette.
I was like, honestly, it was a little bit brutal because I was like, like tearing,
just ripping the legs off.
Well, yeah, because it's like tearing the legs off of like bugs is like a sign of being a sociopath. But yeah. I was like, okay, I see the gag that they're going with this here, but I'm like, that doesn't make me feel better.
No, I think it's just meant to be like a weird.
It's like a weird visual pun. I get it, but
okay.
I just don't like seeing bugs get hurt.
That's fair. The other thing I wanted to mention, this is just real quick, is in the English dub, Chu is voiced by ya boy, Johnny Young Bosch.
Who's Johnny Young Bosch?
He was the Red Power Ranger at one point. I'm sorry. He was, the second Black Power Ranger, the Green Zero Ranger, and the Green Turbo Ranger. I thought he was the Red at some point.
Damn.
He also does a ton of voice acting in anime. He voices Vash the Stampede in Trigun.
Oh.
He voices Renton in Eureka 7. He voices Ichigo in Bleach. He voices, he voices that character in Gurren Lagann.
Oh,
He's all over the place.
Is he the guy that has the sunglasses?
No. Oh, God, no. He is not.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know.
He's all over the place, though. It just made me happy because I
nice.
just like seeing Johnny Young Bosch.
Yeah, you just like, good for you, Johnny Young Bosch.
Yeah, it's good to see you around. Less excited about Yuri Lowenthal, but hey, what can you do?
The stuff that really appealed to me the most was that I like Chun as a main character. Like, she obviously has, like, she has a good heart because, like, she wouldn't have gone back to try to do the right thing and to help him out. She can kind of be sort of, she's not, like, the most perceptive in terms of, like, when these things start happening because, like, when she gets Kun, she's so fixated on just trying to make sure that she can, like, get him better and everything and try to get him big enough to the point that he can go back to the human world that she's kind of oblivious to an extent about, like, how the weather and everything is affecting stuff. Even when she tries to fix it, her family's like, it's too little too late. You fucked up. You have to get out of here.
Right.
But her grandparents are the ones that come to rescue. And also the fact that her grandma is a phoenix is fucking great. I love that she's a phoenix because the phoenix is so freaking cool looking.
No, it was all good.
Yeah, honestly, it's just the character design in this is just so cool. Like I love it. It's just a thing that I love things that look like other things. Like when they combine certain creatures and stuff together.
Favorite.
It's a thing. It's also our friend Liz's thing too.
Yes.
But she incorporates that into like Christmas gifts and stuff. Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's just I love like being able to see like these weird mashups of creatures put together that they still end up making sense. That was probably my favorite part of it. Easily the scale and the color palette that they used for this are stunning. Like the colors in this are beautiful. You can tell that they clearly put a lot of attention into trying to engross you with being within the world and seeing how it evolves once all the consequences of Chun's decisions happen. Also, just Baby Kun is so freaking cute. I want to make a plushie of them.
Just a sweet little dude.
Oh, yeah. I want to make a plushie of Baby Kun, and Kent's like, you better not. And I'm like, I'm totally going to do it. Because I love it. He's just got like a little red nose and he's got like this weird little horn and stuff. It's cute. But
it's really like a narwhal more so than a dolphin.
Yeah, I was like, that's not really a dolphin, but all right. I never got the fascination about people wanting to swim with dolphins for me personally, just because I don't trust dolphins. I think they're sea rapists. But I love manta rays, and I got to do that over the summer, which is cute.
Nice.
But well, actually over the winter. But yeah, I got to do that, and they were cool. I like those sea pancakes. But
pancakes.
they're so great. But yeah, that's most of it.
Sure.
The soundtrack didn't do a ton for me, but I mean, it wasn't
there.
like it wasn't distractingly bad.
Yeah.
It was a perfectly fine score.
Yeah, it worked. It did what it was supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
Because you mentioned creatures mashed up together, and therefore have to give you crap about having not watched Avatar: The Last Airbender, because that's all the animals.
Okay, Robbie, I get
all
it.
of them are that.
I get it, and I know that because I made you an Appa pillow, and I know
Appa?
that you like. I know that you like Appa, but like
there's also the platypus bears.
Okay, well, you didn't tell me there were platypus bears.
There's platypus bears. There's Momo's just like a flying lemur.
Yeah.
I can't think. Polar bear dog, obviously.
I do love Naga. Naga's very cute.
Naga's great. There's tons of them, man.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, had I known, I would have started watching it more frequently.
There's
the only ones that I knew of were Appa, Momo, and Naga. So I don't know, whatever.
There's also, and this is the most horrifying, I think it was in Korra, there's a throwaway line about spider rats, and that's probably the most... I mean, it sounds aesthetically interesting, but also like, by God, I don't want it in my house.
I want to see that. I don't want it in my house, but I would easily go to a zoo to go see it.
Yeah, right. I need to know what it looks like and how I keep it out of my house.
Well, yeah, because like having to deal with like an invasion of spider rats is like you'd have to call both like an exterminator and a fumigator, which sounds awful. So it means like you basically just have to stay in a hotel for like 2 weeks. Sounds awful. Ugh, no, thank you. But yeah, but still conserve the spider rats. Just keep breeding down to a minimum, please.
Yep.
But
save the spider rats. Save the world.
Yep. Save the spider rats. Save the world. Save extra money on your car insurance. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had to talk about. So.
Okay. That's all.
Right.
I've said my piece.
Hell yeah. All right, let's do our handles then, shall we?
Sure.
All right. I will go.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I will start.
Get it.
Robbie, where can they find you?
Oh, well, see how that goes. As always, I found on lobster_.
You're sassy tonight, and I'm sorry for the technical issues earlier. I really am. My computer's been a pile of shit this entire week, so I'm sorry.
As always, you can find me on Twitter at lobster_writer and lobster writer on Instagram. Tracy, where do they find you?
Thank you, Robbie. They can find me on Instagram and Twitter at TCTroush. You can also find our show website via notjoannaeggs.tumblr.com. I guess that's pretty much it.
I did want to plug one more thing real quick.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
So there's a podcast that just started called Honey Roast, which is a super fun, friendly, hopeful podcast. And it just started by a friend of mine named Tess, and it is super great, and you should listen.
Cool. What kind of podcast is it?
It is a podcast where she interviews a creator about their favorite creator, and they just kind of gush about them for an indeterminate period of time.
Oh, that's adorable.
It's super cute. So the second episode just came out as of the day we're recording this, and it's a creator gushing about John Darnielle of the Mountain Goats.
Ooh, fancy.
So,
and what's the name of the show
like,
again so they can look it up?
It is Honey Roast. You can find it at honeyroastpod.com.
Nice. Okay. Well, good to know. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I think you'd enjoy it.
That's awesome. And that's also very sweet of you to plug your friend's podcast. That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
All right. No. Oh, you.
Right.
You keep me
So,
young.
I think that's it for us this week. We've got some things in the pipes, so we're going to try and get back on schedule again here in the near future.
Oh, we'll do what we can. It's now post-tax season by the time that this comes out, so I will have more time to do that.
Post-birthday season.
Yeah,
Not quite, yes. We're working on Post Malone season, but gosh, there's a lot there.
Honestly, Post Malone season will never end. Honestly, here's the thing. I really don't dislike Post Malone that much. I just hate his face, and I hate his personality, but I like a lot of his music.
Yeah, his music is overall pretty good, but God, his face and all that, awful. The worst.
I heard, I think it was either on Twitter or Instagram. It was one or the other. Someone had put up a comment that said, Post Malone looks like someone graffitied a Wendy's advertisement.
Oh my fucking God.
It's pretty accurate.
I can't remember who made the joke of like, Post Malone looks like a fucking meth addict who's been beaten around the trailer park, and he's only 23.
Oh my god.
So fucking much. I don't remember.
Jesus.
It was so good. He also had one of his managers quit because I guess he didn't bathe enough.
Yeah, honestly, he looks how he probably smells. So, which sucks. I mean, like, honestly, if he wasn't rapping, he'd probably be working at a Whole Foods or a co-op.
Mm-hmm.
Gross. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I am not a fan of white guy dreads.
Oh.
I mean, it's just weird. It's a weird thing to do. I'm sorry. I will just assume that you work at a Whole Foods.
Yeah. What's the opposite of a flex? Because it's that.
Oh god, what is the opposite of a flex?
If you can come up with the opposite of the flex, please let us know.
Well, okay. well, hold on. Let's see. So a flex is like a thing that someone wants to brag about, even though it seems like it doesn't have to be odd, or it's just something that someone's bragging about.
I think it's just something someone's bragging about because it's an odd anti-flex, whatever the antithesis of a flex is.
I mean, isn't an anti-flex is just shame? Like it's just experiencing shame.
I guess
degradation.
Like
I don't know.
self-degradation.
Oh, self-diss. That's it.
Self-diss. Odd self-diss, but okay.
Yeah, odd self-diss, but okay. I'll take it. That's got to be it. I don't know.
I'm going with it. All right.
Oh God. All right. Apologies to Post Malone fans. Like, I really don't dislike him.
Yeah, I'm not.
He just
not a
looks
fan.
like he smells gross. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm sure he does. All right. Thank you again so much for listening, everyone. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions or recommendations, Twitter is the best place to contact us.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. So thank you, and we will talk at you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, thanks again so much for listening. Our intro music is Don't Hold My Breath by Ben Briggs. The outro is Wet Dreams by Phonetic Hero. Both were found on ocremix.org. If you like the show, please subscribe, rate, and review us, or tell a friend to check us out. We're on iTunes, Stitcher, and anywhere else you get your podcasts. Find the show website via notjoannaeggs.tumblr.com. Follow us on Twitter via @lobster_writer and @tctrash. Not Joanna Eggs, because animation is for everybody.